Hello, this video is about web literacy, which is a skill set that allows you to navigate the internet successfully without falling victim to misinformation, fake news, or propaganda. In this video, we will discuss how to tell if information is credible by employing some simple techniques. Web literacy is a skill set that allows one to be able to use the internet responsibly and effectively. It includes skills such as verifying information found online, responsibly sharing information via social media, and basic searching techniques. This video will explore how to use these skills to become a better user of the internet and a more responsible citizen. Because of the nature of the internet, we are constantly bombarded with information on a daily basis. Headlines, tweets, Instagram posts, and videos are begging for our attention on a daily basis. So, how do we know that the information we receive every day is true? How do we discern good information from bad information? From time to time, we all encounter information from a source that we are not familiar with. How do we know if the information that is being presented to us is true or not? To find out, we can use the SIFT method. SIFT is an acronym for Stop, Investigate the Source, Find Better Coverage, and trace claims, quotes, and videos back to its original context. Let's take this source for example. The National Vaccine Information Center claims to provide readers with the truth about vaccines. Before we even begin to read the website in question, let's stop and ask ourselves a couple of questions. Do we know this website? What do we know about its reputation? As of now, we don't seem to know a lot about it. So let's move on to the next step. If we investigate the source, we can find out more information about where it comes from and if it can be trusted as a credible source. To do this, we need to use a technique called lateral reading. Lateral reading is when you leave the website in question, open up a new browser, and try to find out what other sources are saying about that source in question. Once we create a new tab and search for the National Vaccine Information Center on Google, we will see that the website does not have the greatest reputation. In fact, in the Google panel off to the side, it says that it has been widely criticized as a leading source of fear-mongering and misinformation about vaccines. If we look at our search results, we'll see a couple that talk about the NVIC and how it may not be the most reliable source. One is an article by the Washington Post. Another article is by Media Bias Fact Checker, which is an actual fact-checking website and explains the media bias of the sources in question. If we go further through our search results, we'll see another source from the LA Times talking about the National Vaccine Information Center and how they've been a source of misinformation about vaccines. So now that we know that the NVIC may not be the most reliable source for vaccine information, let's try Googling measles and see if we can find better coverage of the topic. When we search for measles, we find a few sources that you may have heard of before. For instance, if we click on the first search result, which is from the CDC or the Centers for Disease Control, we find a few things. Before we continue, we have to ask ourselves what the CDC is. The CDC is essentially a government agency that studies diseases. It consists of experts, people who have expertise in areas such as epidemiology, infectious diseases, and how communicable diseases work. So for instance, we can get a couple of things. We can get information about measles, which just gives us essentially information about what the disease is. So this link right here, we'll see information about the measles vaccine. If we go here and click how effective is the measles vaccine, it gives us a little bit of information. But if we wanted to learn more about vaccine for measles, we'll go to the vaccine for measles section. So, this page gives us information about the MMR vaccine. The MMR vaccine, according to the CDC, is very safe and effective. A popular conspiracy theory is that the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine is not safe and that it can cause autism. However, if we look over here, under the question, is there a link between the MMR shot and autism, we see that according to the CDC, that no, scientists in the United States and other countries have carefully studied the MMR shot. None has found a link between autism and the MMR shot. If we wanted to learn more about that, we can simply click on Learn More. And it gives us a 2013 CDC study Now, this is a peer-reviewed journal article from the Journal of Pediatrics. A couple of ways we can tell that it's legitimate is that it has a study design, a results, a conclusion. It gives us the methods of the study, and it basically explains how there is no link between the MMR vaccine and autism. So, the whole point of this is to show you that expertise is going to determine a source's credibility. So if the people who are giving the information, if they have expertise in a certain field, like for example, if they are experts in epidemiology, if they are experts in communicable diseases, if they are experts in how diseases are transmitted, if they are scientists, if they study this, that means that they have a certain level of credibility. Not only that, this is a government agency. This was created to study communicable diseases, infectious diseases. The National Vaccine Information Center, on the other hand, was started by an activist group who were fed misinformation about the dangers of vaccinating children. The scientists who wrote this particular peer-reviewed journal article have authority, which means that they have extensive or specialized knowledge about a subject, in this case being diseases and vaccines. So ultimately, the CDC is made up of scientists, data analysts, and other kinds of experts who share a common goal of reducing the spread of disease. They provide expertise and are an authority on epidemiology and communicable diseases. They are also governed by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which also adds another layer of credibility. And you don't just have to trust the CDC. You can also look into other sources such as the World Health Organization, which provides information on diseases, vaccines, and you can also look at the Mayo Clinic, which is also considered another authority on health-related issues, and even Johns Hopkins University. But let's say we come across a claim made on the NVIC website that catches our eye. For example, the NVIC cites a 2014 study that claims that the risk of febrile seizures to double in children receiving the MMR-V vaccine in comparison to those receiving separate doses of MMR and varicella vaccines. If we trace this claim back to its original source, we see that it takes us to a peer-reviewed journal. So if I go ahead and click on the source, and if I go ahead and click on that, so a couple of things. The article is from the Canadian Medical Association Journal, which is a legitimate publication produced by the Canadian Medical Association. As we scroll down, we see all the indicators of a peer-reviewed journal article. We see things like an abstract, the methods used in a study, the results of the study, and the interpretation. As it turns out, the claim is true. There is an increased risk of febrile seizures in children who receive the MMR-V vaccination as opposed to children who receive MMR and V separately. However, if you read the interpretation, the absolute risk of seizures is still small. So what the NVIC did was provide its readers misleading information. That is why it is important to trace claims, quotes, and videos back to its original context. It is incredibly easy to strip information of its context online, so if you are unsure about the trustworthiness of a claim, try tracing it back to its original source and context. So remember, the next time you are online, try using the SIFT method along with lateral reading to make sure that you find credible, reliable sources.